Hey there, Board Game Nation. Thanks for tuning in. Today we are taking a break from the regular studio to talk about how to play role-play games online. We're going to have a detailed conversation with our friend David Galloway, who's the GM over at Boldly Rolling. And we're going to find out what we need technical-wise, software-wise, and time-wise to play some of our favorite role-play games online. So without further ado, everybody, welcome David Galloway.
Hey guys, thank you very much for having me. So what we're doing today, as Gary so eloquently put it, we are talking about how we can still play role-play games and maintain our social distancing protocols. I've been part of a group, we call ourselves Boldly Rolling. We've been playing together now for about 3 years. We started out playing Star Trek Adventures, the 2D20 game by Modifius, and then we've moved on to playing Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. And we were in probably our second session when the whole social distancing thing happened. So we decided, what can we do? We looked at our options. And so for the first time last week, we all went online completely in order to try and figure out how we can still roll dice together, how we can still have our adventures together that we've been working on.
All right, David, well, that sounds great. What do we need to get started from a technical point of view? What kind of equipment do we need?
What we found that works best is having a desktop or laptop computer in which to do most of this from.
Okay, so I'm using a Mac today, so obviously this is going to work. So we can use any kind of PC. What about like an iPad or a Kindle or any kind of like tablet device? Would that work too, or how's that work?
There are some, you can get it to work. I have an iPad Pro, and you can use things like Roll20 through that. There are some limitations to it. There's some weird glitchiness with some of the user interface going from a total touchscreen. Now, a couple of my friends that are in my Boldly Rolling group, they both use Microsoft Surface tablets, and they don't seem to have any problem whatsoever manipulating their Surface tablet to do exactly what they need it to do in our online games. So it seems to work really well. It's just kind of, depending on what you've got, Mac or on the Apple computer, it works great. On a PC, I'm assuming it works great. On the iPad, iPhone, you're going to see some limitations there, definitely.
Okay, well, that's good to know. I'm curious, so it sounds like there's a bunch of different options. So do you want to just jump in?
Yeah, let's jump in. Let's take a look and see what we've got on offer.
So of the options that we're looking at, it seems like we're going to start with Roll20. So what do we need to know about this?
Cool. So Roll20 is a free platform that really does a fantastic job of translating what you would normally do on a tabletop to the digital realm. And I'll show you right here what that will do. So I'm going to sign in with my Roll20 account here. Roll20 accounts are free to set up. And I already have a game established here. It is pretty easy to set up your own game if you need to do that. And there's a whole tutorial that will walk you through everything you need to know about Roll20. That's one thing I really enjoyed about this, was it's a very easy process and it will walk you through everything you need to do. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to hit launch game. Right now, none of my other players are signed in. Hopefully none of them are signed in. So it's going to load up here. So here's part of the tutorial right here. Now, this is an interesting point right here that I do want to point out. It's on the Mac, it's going to ask you if you want to use your camera and microphone. Down here in the corner, if you say yes, you can have full live chat going on in Roll20, which is really handy. You can stream great audio, stream video through there, and you can all chat back and forth just within the one app. That's really cool. I will say, however, we did have some issues with that. We had 6 people taking part in our game, myself GMing plus 5 others. And we spent probably a solid 20 minutes of time having to refresh our links constantly or refresh our feeds in order for things to work. So for this case, I'm going to hit don't allow on here. I'm going to close the tutorial window so you can sort of see what we've got going on here. We will talk more about video and audio things here in just a little bit. So the first screen we have, we're in the GM's mode. You can see our main screen over here in the center. This is the map that I drew for our game. This is the Free Kingdoms of Dalinar, which are currently not free. They're under occupation. That's our main screen here. We've got a series of tools on the left-hand side. Down here at the bottom left, this is where I would show up. If I was on camera right then, you would see me down here, and then everyone else would kind of show up beside it. I can hover my mouse over this cool little burger, and I can move this guy around if I want to. So if I want to sit him at the side, I can do that, which is pretty handy to sort of clear areas out. A really useful panel is this panel over here on the right-hand side. This is an in-game chat. One of the coolest things I love about this in-game chat is that you can do dice rolling through this. One of the big things I think a lot of RPGers experience is you want everyone to be honest about their dice rolls. And even if you've been playing with a group for 10 years, you know that some people are going to be tempted to fudge the rolls. This allows that not to happen. By typing some very specific code and very easy code, I can roll a dice. So for example, if I wanted to roll a d20 and add my wisdom modifier of +3, I just type in /R 1d20 +4, and then I hit the return key, boom, and it automatically rolls that out for me, adds it together, and gives me my score. And everyone who's in the game can see this score. That's what's really cool about that. It's all open rolling. Now, as the GM, though, or as the DM, there's some dice rolls I'm not going to want anyone else to see. So my options at that point, I can either roll a dice here at home where no one else will see that, or I can type in /GM roll, and then do my same number, 1d20 +4. And now you'll see how that's in a different color, which means only I can see that. That is a private, hidden GM roll. So that way I don't have to have any other dice or anything else at the table.
Okay, that sounds cool. It seems like a handy function, but I have to wonder, it seems a little intimidating to have people trying to write code in the middle of a game. Have you ever found that to be cumbersome?
Actually, the fact that it's so simple to do, when we first jumped on Roll20 and began playing around with it, we did probably a solid 15, 20 minutes of just quickly playing around and learning it. And we all took time and learned how to roll dice just by typing /R, then your dice number. And once you get that in your head, that's really the only thing you'll be typing. Now, there are other cool things over here, like the whisper rule, where you can send private messages to other players. As a DM, that's really handy. I can give certain people pieces of information that only they can know, or even players can talk about the DM behind their back if they want to, and strategize that way without me listening in on it to see what their plans would be. So that does give some pretty cool stuff. And all of the code right here is always at the top. Every time you log into a new session, it's going to automatically place these formulas at the top for you. So that way, if you forget it week to week, you've got a refresher right there for you.
Okay. I can see where that would have a bit of a learning curve. But yeah, I mean, so if I'm the player and I need to roll, I type my own code. That's not something that the GM does.
Correct. /R, then whatever dice you're using. If it's a 1d20, type 1d20 plus whatever modifier you have, and it adds those together. If it's a different dice, let's say you're rolling damage with 2d8 for a spell or something like that, you simply just type in 2d8 plus whatever modifier and hit go, and it knows exactly what it's doing at that point.
Okay, that seems cool. So what do the players see here?
So what I can show you is what the DMs will allow the players to see. If I go up here in my GM view, there's a little page toolbar button. If I click on that, you're going to see here, I've already got a number of pages set up. And you've got this big red players banner, looks kind of like a bookmark. This tells me what screen the players are currently in. So right now, if I click on here, this is what the players are currently seeing. It's a blank screen. They're not seeing anything. However, if I drag this, I'm just clicking and dragging, I can move it onto another map or another page here. Boom. And so this is now what the players are seeing. And I can even zoom in and zoom out on different parts of the screen if I want to. I can click to drag to move around. And if I click and hold on something, it's going to play this little, it's almost like a sonar or radar detector. That just lets my players know, hey, this is what I want you to focus on. A couple of things I want to point out real quick. As the DM, I've got control over a number of different layers in each page. If I go over here to this cube, this is going to show me what my different layers within each page are. I've got a map and background layer, an objects and tokens layer, and then a GM info overlay layer where I can overlay different things. I can actually show you better. If I switch which pages now. I'm going to go to my tavern here. This is the start. This is where we started our last game. In the Signalman's Post, it's a bar in the docks area of Fiferar. So right here, I'm on the objects and tokens layer. We can see these are all my different player characters right here. If I want to move them, I can select them, I can drag them, I can tell them what direction they're focused on. So through here, I can really control a lot of where different players are, where NPCs are, that type of thing. The players also have access to their token in this layer as well. But if I want to change something else, I can go to the map and background layer, and you'll notice that they fade away because they're on a separate layer. So now we're just focusing on the tavern as a background layer. And I can make this bigger if I want to, smaller, I can adjust that. I can add more things into my background layer if I want to. Here we go. Where is it? Here it is. There's also the GM info and overlay layer where I can add different things in. I'll be honest, I haven't used that one too much lately. We're pretty much using Roll20 as we would a tabletop. Normally when we play, I've got all the D&D tiles, the expanded dungeon maps, that type of thing. So we're playing with those, and we're playing with miniatures as well. So this just really takes the place of that in our game system and how we play. But I can do cool things like set a fog of war up on places. I can sort of block things out if I want to. You can see how that went dark. So the players now, they can't see any of that. And then if I want to reveal areas, I just choose reveal area here. And I can select an area, boom, and now that area is lit up. They can now see into that. So if I want to block something out completely, I can. The tutorial does a really good job going in and showing you how to set these up. It's not as clever as some of the other ones we'll take a look at here in a second, but it definitely does work. It allows you to build big surprises and keep different things from your players if you want to do that.
Well, that sounds exciting. So it sounds like there's quite a bit of versatility inside of the program to allow some of the creativity that the GMs and DMs really love to have. So how, I guess on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the complexity of setting this up as a GM?
I'd probably give it a solid 5, honestly. If you've used any sort of digital programs for, I mean, even like word processing apps, it has a lot in common with things like Photoshop, things like Pages, things like Microsoft Office in terms of layers and how you move things around. It's not terribly complex. There's a little bit of a learning curve. And I think it does a lot more than what I'm using it for right now. But I definitely think this is a good place to start because it's a really excellent representation of a virtual tabletop.
Well, great. This seems like a really good overview of what Roll20 has to offer. I'm curious, what are the other options that are out there?
One of the other main ones that pops up when you look up virtual tabletops is FantasyGrounds. FantasyGrounds, as you can see right here, I mean, they cover a lot of different systems. Whereas with Roll20, it's very system agnostic, meaning you can really play any game you want in there. The rules don't really interfere too much into the program of it. With FantasyGrounds, on the other hand, it has rule systems baked into it. So things like spell effects, things like options for your characters, they're already built into the game itself. So it's licensed for a whole bunch of different systems here, from D&D to Pathfinder, Call of Cthulhu, Vampire the Masquerade, Symbaroum, lots of really, really cool games. One thing we do have to mention, however, is that this one is not as free. Roll20, pretty much you can do everything I just showed you for free. You don't need to pay a dime towards any of it. However, with FantasyGrounds, they are more of a paid tiered system. So they've got two sort of programs they're running right now. One is called FantasyGrounds, or FantasyGrounds Classic. That's how the game has been operated or the different games have been operated for a while now. And they're moving towards a new system called FantasyGrounds Unity. Which offers a lot more things too, but it's currently in the early access. They haven't quite fixed all the bugs with it yet. If I scroll down here, you can see the main 3 packages that they offer. You've got a demo, which is free. You download it for free, and this will allow you to play in a game that's being hosted by someone that has an ultimate package. but that's pretty much all it lets you do. It does give you some of the rule sets for second edition Pathfinder or second edition D&D 3.5, fourth edition, fifth edition, Fate, Pathfinder, Pathfinder 2, Numenera, and Starfinder. So it's got a bunch of different systems built in there automatically at the free level, which is great, but you can't host a game and you can't build your own campaign through there. So it is limited. From above demo level, you've got FantasyGrounds Standard, which allows you to do a bunch of different things. You can build your own campaigns within there. You play in games hosted by the Ultimate level, as well as it has 26 battle maps. There's 242 different tokens representing different animals and creatures, as well as a bit of a more expanded data library and the same rule sets as previous. You can also demo with one player and one GM as well with the same demo unit right there. This will either cost you $4 a month or the one-time price of $39, in which case you're not paying for it monthly. You can use it as much as you want. And then you've got Fantasy Grounds Classic Ultimate, which gives you everything listed. You can host games for both demo players and for players in the standard version, and that is either $10 a month or one time of $149 altogether, and then it's yours.
Well, it seems like Fantasy Grounds has got a lot to offer, and it seems like they've got the two different kinds. Obviously, there's a pay component to it, but it comes with so many more rule sets and things already kind of built in that you don't really have to overlay a bunch of stuff from your own desk. Is that a good assessment of what they've got?
Yeah, that's exactly what I would say. Whereas with Roll20, I'm still sitting here. I've got my Dungeon Master's Guide handy. I've got my notes spread out everywhere. It seems with Fantasy Grounds, a lot of that stuff's baked into it, so you don't need to rely as heavily on flipping through pages and pulling things up. It looks like a lot of that's already built in for that one-time fee or a small monthly fee.
Okay, and honestly, I mean, it doesn't seem like it's terribly expensive. I mean, $39 to be able to set up and play a vast variety of different board games with all the rule sets. I mean, hell, one book costs that much. So, I mean, right. So I think it sounds like a pretty worthwhile investment. So it seems like they've priced it well, and it seems like they've got a pretty good product going. So what else have we got to look at?
One more to look at. We're going to take a look at Astral Tabletop. This is a fairly new tabletop RPG experience that hasn't been around for very long, to my knowledge. And it seems to be rather advanced. It kind of takes some of the best things about playing a game, a computer game like Baldur's Gate, and then mixing that with your own customizational RPG capability. You can sort of see this little demo video we're playing right here. It's showing all sorts of really cool things. They've got phenomenal dynamic lighting effects that can be really cool as the DM to use, being able to show different things. Different ways to invite players. You can import character sheets directly from different resources, as well as having things like rulebooks and guidebooks and things like that built directly into the game itself.
Wow, that seems really impressive. It seems like they've got a lot of really kind of advanced techniques going on. I'd be curious what the gameplay looked like.
Gameplay for Astral Tabletop looks really, really cool. Unfortunately, due to the traffic load that's going on right now, probably because everyone's working from home and everyone's trying to play games from home as well, we're unable to show you anything right now. However, we'll give you some demos that they have on the main website itself. As I scroll down here, you can sort of see an example of what gameplay looks like. And I mean, this looks straight out of a tabletop roleplay game, or an online roleplay game, something that you would download and expect things to be fully animated through. This right now, I think they're playing through possibly Call of Cthulhu. We see cultists there. We can see some dice down here in the corner. You just select your dice to roll your dice.
So it looks like the dice rolling options in this system seem a little bit easier than what we were looking at before in Roll20.
Correct. You're not having to type as much code. You simply select the dice that you would roll. If you need to roll a 2d8, you click on 2d8, and then you hit roll, and it rolls.
Well, that seems pretty simple.
Yeah.
Okay, so it seems like it's got a lot of graphics capabilities. It's got a ton of different roleplay systems in it. So is this one free, or does this one charge, or how does this one work?
So if we go up to pricing here, it is free. And you get a lot for their free package. However, they do also have a pro version, which they only do tier pricing or monthly prices, so it's $8.25 a month, or if you do it annually, it's $24 a month. So it's not a dreadful amount. It's more per month than what FantasyGrounds was. However, just from looking at this, there's a lot more it has to offer. If you want a more visually engaging or more immersive storytelling experience, it seems that Astral Tabletop can absolutely deliver that with the right internet bandwidth. Because it's very graphically heavy, it's very intense, but there's a lot that it does indeed have to offer. There's a lot of different tools for games masters. You've got live map editing. You've got weather effects that you can do, which are really, really cool. Can we see different ones here? No, it's not going to show us those. And then as a player as well, you've got some really neat things. You've got all these different character sheets that are built in, and all of them access the information on there and build it into the game automatically. So it doesn't matter which game you're playing, you're going to see the character sheets that you're used to filling out. It doesn't have some other sort of system there. And so everything's automated and built in. Spells are automated. You just choose what spell you're doing, boom, and it builds everything in for you. It's really cool, really impressive. Yeah, I quite like the look at this one. This one I'll definitely be exploring more.
Well, that's cool. So it seems like this one kind of has everything in it, which is cool. But as you mentioned before, it takes up a ton of bandwidth. So I would imagine that if you're in a place that has a weaker Wi-Fi connection, or you're trying to run off your cell phone, that you may have some trouble with lag in the creation and play of this game.
Right. It seems that this one is more built for playing from a desktop with a hardline dedicated internet signal.
Okay, cool. So what is the system that, of all of the ones that we've looked at today, which ones do you recommend? Which ones are you excited about using?
Sure. So from my own experience, I really enjoy using Roll20. It's honestly the easiest to get to grasp with, simply because, one, their tutorials they walk you through are really fantastic. They really do a great job just kind of explaining everything to you and how it works. And it doesn't have a lot of unnecessary bells and whistles with it. Whereas with Astral Tabletop, all the weather stuff and the weather effects and the dynamic lighting, that's all really, really cool. It's not necessary. You know, when I'm playing at home, if we're doing this just as a regular Wednesday night boldly rolling game, you know, I'm going to unveil a character or a new monster by dropping it on the table as a miniature. And boldly rolling allows me to do that. So it gives a much easier translation if you're coming from the tabletop experience that what I've been used to playing for the past decade or so.
So one of the things that you mentioned about Roll20 when we were kind of exploring that one is that sometimes they've got problems with the audio and video connections, and that sometimes people will drop and there's a lot of refreshing and stuff like that. Are there other systems that maybe overlay Roll20 that can help with that?
Yes, there's several different programs you can use for overlaying. In fact, what we're using right now to shoot this video is an application called Zoom that is free to use. And this is one that we had discussed using with Roll20, with Boldly Rolling over our Roll20 game, because last week we were having all sorts of lag issues. And after filming this video, I feel really confident that Zoom would give us plenty of capability. One, the video and audio quality is really, really good and really, really consistent. Two, it has a neat ability to where you can share your desktop screen. So if I have documents or things, maps that I have saved to my computer that I want my players to look at, we can do that just in Zoom. But we can also turn off our video and mic in Roll20 and just have our Zoom chat window on top of a Roll20 window, and everything will work normally that way as well.
Well, that seems like a really stable way to have a consistent gaming experience week after week, so that you can play and have people see each other and be able to verify roles and to be able to show maps and do everything that is really kind of the centerpiece of any RPG. So that's great. So any final thoughts on how to set this up?
Definitely use your resources. I mean, that's something that we say at my work all the time. You know, there are plenty of YouTube videos that can walk you through setting up some really cool games. There's also the resources that they give you on the Roll20 website or on Astral Tabletop as well that are really, really handy. Also, a big resource, especially if you're playing Dungeons and Dragons, is D&D Beyond. D&D Beyond is a great website that Wizards of the Coast has been running in order to facilitate more online styles of play. They have areas where you can generate your character, and it walks you through step by step generating them. You can export that player character as a PDF form, send that to your games master. Plus it has the rule books and various books and things like that built in. You can purchase some of the additional ones. One of the best things I've found with D&D Beyond is just having my spell lists easily accessible there. Instead of having to flick through the back of the player's manual to try and find a certain spell, I can type in, command, boom, there's the command spell right there, or turn undead ability, boom, there's a turn undead ability right there. So that's a really, really good resource there as well, especially if you're playing Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition.
Well, fantastic. It sounds like there's a pretty big world to explore in all of this. So as we're all kind of sitting at home and trying to figure out what to do with ourselves and missing our friends and missing our weekly games, this seems like a great option for us to explore. So David, I really appreciate you taking the time today to sit with us and kind of explain how a lot of these different services work and how we might use them to continue to maintain the games that we love and the relationships with the people that we care about. So thank you so much for being with us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Gary.
Well, Nation, thank you so much for watching. Big thanks to our friend David over at Boldly Rolling. Keep an eye on that space. They've got a lot of really cool things coming out. If you've enjoyed this video, make sure that you head down and click that subscribe button so that you never miss a thing. On Board Game Nation, we do unboxings, how-tos, and strategy videos for some of your favorite games, as well as a traveling roadshow that focuses on our favorite board game stores. Keep an eye on your board game stores right now because they're having a pretty rough go. As soon as you're able to, make sure you get back there and show them your support and your love. Guys, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.